So we're watching Deandre Corbe take on João Miyao in the finals at the Chicago Open. It's Dee's first year as a black belt, and to be even at this level in the finals of a major tournament like this is super impressive.
But this is exactly what you would expect. He's in the finals, and of course grappling a world champion, João Miyao. They both sit. A little bit of an exchange for a foot.
D comes up for the advantage, which is something that doesn't surprise me here. D's passing and top position, his balance from top position is really effective. And so even against a guard as dangerous as Miyao's, it doesn't surprise me that he would come to the top.
And what he's doing here by pinning that foot and manipulating the leg towards Joao's hindquarters is allowing him to really get some play with his passing. Joao's really good at keeping his knees to his shoulders. And there D does an awesome cross pass.
You can really see all the hours of drilling there for that smooth transition from the initial leg drag to the cross.
Quick little reset.
It's a really fun match to watch, too. Both of their styles, I think, match up really well in terms of making for an active and entertaining match.
Absolutely. And what we were noticing the first time through watching this was they have such varying ways of neutralizing each other because they play very similar games.
That's such a great transition there from Joao, like so deadly to get into that De La Riva guard and so quick that he's able to enter and put Deandre in a position, and Deandre recovers really well.
And as you were saying, you pretty much have two options. You're either going to get your back taken or give up the sweep, typically, and this is going to happen very shortly.
D doing a really good job controlling the feet, which is so critical because those are Miyao's primary weapons that he uses to attack.
And directional change. He's keeping Joao guessing, not letting Joao necessarily get exactly what he wants. And then here we get into this big exchange.
We talked before about the entry, and with legs as long as Joao's, when he gets that cross De La Riva, that deep De La Riva hook, that's where he's really dangerous, because now you can't square up. And you can see D trying to square up, which is the right thing to do. And as you mentioned, in order to avoid giving up his back, D has to go to his back, which is going to result in 2 points for Joao.
And then D going almost, kiss the dragon style, but then pulling Joao back in and looking at the ref like, you know what's up here.
Such an intelligent decision in the moment, too, to pull him back, because you could tell Joao wanted to get out and only give up an advantage, but D was, not only had a great technique there, but also had the tactical knowledge to pull him back into the mat. I will also say, your first year at black belt, to hit a sweep on a world champion, a sweep, by the way, that world champion does himself very well, is so impressive. You're going into his own game and on his own terms and still able to successfully execute. So did it look to you like D was going for a knee bar there?
It did, but it's so hard to tell. He might have just been trying to, ride the leg for a bit of control to work towards better position. You also can't feel what's going on there. We can only guess. But this crossbody ankle lock, very hard to finish. You almost have to turn your entire back to your opponent and make the sole of their foot turn towards their face and really pop the foot sideways. But because both feet end up outside, there's a high probability if that person slips it, you're just giving up your back. So it's really tough to just finish it like a straight ankle lock when it's across the body.
That makes sense. I have seen it finished, but only where one dude is substantially longer than the other. And,
yeah. One other thing worth noting, many people might not know this, but Deandre, upon getting his brown belt, went to a U.S. grappling event down in Raleigh that was sub-only. And we had 2 very friendly matches. being a teammate at the time, we were like, let's do this absolute brown belt division. And I made sure that, Deandre darshed me.
One of the few probably that has darshed you.
Well, I wanted to welcome him to the brown belt division, and I knew that I was going to be testing for my black belt soon after, so I wanted to give him that momentum of a quick and easy, free, absolute gold, which he absolutely did not need.
Yeah, it's it is, I want to say again how impressive a performance this is, because João Miyao is one of the people I respect the most in terms of his dedication to jiu-jitsu. That dude is training all the time. This is what he does. This is what he loves. He does it 8-10 hours a day probably. Wake up and drill, go to class, roll, rest a bit, go back to class. And he is at that elite level. And so for D to be and D looks very much in place and comfortable here. Like, in terms of, he is not outclassed in this match. He looks like he belongs here. This is a winnable match for him. And for that to be the case at this early stage of black belt is incredible.
Yeah, hanging with Joao, who's already accomplished so much, and like you said, just recently having gotten his black belt, and here he is playing a bit of half guard, but he's got an underhook. He's not letting Joao get him perfectly flat. Joao's trying his hardest. He even tried to, sit into it. Deandre correctly underhooks the leg and keeps that from happening.
That's a great point, because there was just a BJJ Scout video about how Joao uses the double under body lock in that position to flatten you, and D was hip to that game and stopped it, and now Deandre is able to invert, recover a full attacking guard position.
A little bit of reverse Delahiva. One of my favorite positions here, and D is correctly off balancing Joao and goes back to inverting, forces a scramble, and now this is where I'm most excited, because at this point I'm thinking, Deandre's got to have a bit of steam going behind him, having to feel great. There's no way that he's looking at this going, oh man, I'm behind, right?
So D's in no danger from that cross ankle position for the same reason that you mentioned before, right? Like, Joao's just trying to hold space there.
That's it, just the controlling element. If he really wanted to finish, he would need to get his hips out, which he can't right now. And what's great is D was putting that counter pressure, turning the correct way. But now we're in that position where, you sit the wrong way after giving it up, and this is the exact issue we initially talked about. But D's quality wrestler. He knows how to play here, and turns right back into a half butterfly.
D did get an advantage there for his own ankle lock.
Was that a look at the clock, you think?
Probably, because he knows at this point in the points game he's behind but within striking distance, and a sweep to a good position. Actually, because it's 6-2 and D's up an advantage, I believe. A sweep into a knee on belly position or a pass wins him the match.
Mm-hmm. Joao really hunkering down here. I think he's finally relented in the sense of he understands that this guy is dangerous. He's probably not going to do any more big movements.
Yeah, it seems, especially with his elbows caging D's hips, his primary concern here is just preventing D's attack. Like, it doesn't appear like he's trying to open the guard and pass, which is smart, if you're going to play the game. When you're stuck in a position like this, I mean, I don't know, what do you, because D has an overhook here, and what do you think he's kicking his leg to try to create some space, maybe look for an omoplata on that near side?
Yeah, so my personal preference is if I get that left arm overhook and it's elbow deep, rather than breaking posture with my hand like D is doing here, I typically will frame on their far side left arm with my right hand. And,
Joao called for stalling there, by the way.
Yeah, which, granted, he is.
Yeah.
But, going back to that overhook game, overhook right arm, frame left arm, and then I actually scoop my hips out and put in a knee shield and open my guard. Reason for that, they only have one direction they really can go. That usually leads to some submissions, but D opens up, and now he's playing a little De La Riva.
What I love here is that
if he came up.
What I love here is that D is so in on his own game here and is not fearing any of these positions. He's attacking in positions that you would generally think of as Miyao positions, but they are just as much Corby positions, right? These De La Riva guards, these lift him into X guard.
Absolutely. And there was an opportunity there where if Joao wasn't the guy he was, D was on the back, you know? And that just shows the quality of competition.
Another thing I agree with everything you just said. Another thing I want to point out here is it would be real easy for a lot of guys here to just sort of accept defeat and like, oh, I'm down 6-2 to João Miyao. I lost on points to a world champion, but to the end, D was attacking and trying to win as opposed to accepting a comfortable loss. And so you have to take risks to do that. And man, what a great performance by D.
Super exciting to watch too. I mean, just one of the more fun matches I've ever seen.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing what D does in the future.
Yeah, good work, D.